Okay, let me try one more time. So I started college in 2014 and I was ready to become someone new. But what ended up following was loneliness, toxic relationships, and eventually academic suspension. Yes, I did get kicked out and then a long road back to myself. So in this video in particularly, I will be sharing my raw, unfiltered college experience from bad roommates to losing friends, failing my classes, and pretending to be someone that I wasn't. So if you are heading to college in the near future or in the fall and you are struggling and finding yourself and healing from past traumas or any type of trauma that you had to deal with growing up or what you may be going through now, this story is for you guys, mainly for you guys. So definitely comment down below, how was your college experience? Come back to this video and let me know how your college experience will be because I'm very curious. I love hearing people's college experience to see if it is any similar to mine or how completely different it is. It actually all started right after high school. I graduated back in July of 2014, and then that following August of 2014, I packed my things up, I packed everything up, and I went straight to a four-year college. So I was definitely full of a lot of hope and excitement, but I was also scared. I was scared of the unknown. I was scared of being alone. I was scared of not fitting in, especially because I didn't really fit in high school. If you know, you know. The moment that I walked into my dorm, I already knew that it was going to be a challenge. You see, my roommate was actually a complete nightmare. My roommate in particular was anonymous, so I had no idea who this man was going to be. We met on Facebook back in the fall of 2014, and we were just chatting back and forth, just like letting each other know about each other in a way. And I really thought that he was cool, and you always feel like you want to know that they are cool until they end up showing you who they really are. But I had no idea what I was getting myself into, especially because he was anonymous. It was just a random guy. It was actually the very first night that we moved in. He started bringing a lot of random different people, mainly women, but it was a lot of people, just random people, and they would stay up all night until morning time. So 1, 2, 3 in the morning. And see, I had 8 a.m. classes. He didn't have 8 a.m. classes. He actually had like 10 a.m. classes, because with college, it depends. It depends on your major. It really just depends on what you're studying. It really just depends on what classes they put you in. For us, I went to Rafford. And for Rafford at that time, we were allowed to choose the time that we wanted our classes to be, and I chose in the morning because I'm more of a night owl, so I didn't want to go to school at 8 p.m. I'd rather had just done it in the morning and got it over with, and so that's what I did. And when I tell you guys that he would literally bring random people in the dorm rooms, and it was the freshman building. It was actually a freshman building, and all the freshmen lived in that building. And they would stay there, they would laugh, they would drink, they would actually sneak alcohol in those dorm rooms, like in their bags or whatever, and they never checked it, right? Like the RAs, they never checked it. I was frustrated. Within the first week, honestly, I think that I was ready to go. I feel like I was already ready to have a new roommate. I gave him the benefit of the doubt, but after I kept seeing the same things happening every single night, I was actually ready for him to go at that point. I definitely asked him respectfully if he could party elsewhere. He didn't care. It just went through one ear and out the other. And I eventually moved out of the dorm. My new roommate that I ended up getting, he was very, very cool. He listened to me. We became really good friends. And I ended up feeling a bit more at ease. And throughout the rest of the semester, it was like a breeze. It was nice to just hang out with him. But definitely the first semester, it was very, very rough. I believe I stayed with my first roommate for just the first semester, so like 3-4 months. And then throughout Christmas break, once I came back in January, like the end of January, I ended up moving out, and then I requested a new roommate, and then that's when I had my new roommate, and we were actually really, really cool. So shout out to him. My first semester of freshman year, it was very rough. I felt definitely out of place. I felt like I didn't belong. I slowly, within the first few weeks, maybe the first few months, maybe the first couple months, I did meet a couple friends. They were actually really, really cool. I also gained the freshman 15. Apparently, when you're a freshman, you gain weight because of all of the food that is there on your campus if you live on campus. So I did gain the freshman 15, and I definitely blew up. I also joined campus activities, which I do recommend that. Try to get involved with your school as much as possible. I only joined like one club, honestly, and it was the LSA club. It was the Latino Student Alliance Club. I did join that for like 2 years, and I met some really cool people there. But other than that, I never really joined anything else on campus. So if I did have to recommend something, I recommend all freshmen going into their 4-year college experience, or even the last 2 years if they do go, definitely join some kind of campus activity. So then the loneliness wouldn't seem as lonely. So I was 18 back in 2014. I had just turned 18 back in March. It was legal enough to smoke and not drink. You still had to be 21, but back then you were allowed to be 18 to end up smoking, not 21. I was definitely going to the hookah bar. I remember being so excited my freshman year to just walk across the street. The hookah bar was right across from the freshman building that I was staying at, the dorm, and me and a couple of my friends would go across the street like every night, and we would just sit there and smoke hookah. But even though I really tried to stay busy throughout my experience, I knew that I felt really alone. I was lonely. I was a loner, but I kind of was in high school also. So only by sophomore year, that is when I started hitting the gym. And my sophomore year, out of the 3 years that I was there, definitely my sophomore year was one of my favorite years. I was definitely taking better care of my health, and I was hanging out with my roommate. I even joined a fraternity, and the fraternity was KDR. I got to experience Hell Week. And then at the end of Hell Week was when we were asked the questions on why we believe we deserve to be in the Brotherhood. And they said I did really well. But when it came to my grades, the grades were not up to par. I believe you needed a 3.0 and I was hitting like a 2.8. So I was more on the C average and you needed like a B average in order to get accepted there. One of my good friends that I would hang out with constantly throughout the first 2 years of my college experience, he ended up rushing with me, but because I didn't get accepted, he did, and he was actually doing better with his grades, and they accepted him. Once they accepted him, mine and his friendship relationship, it kind of started going downhill, and I was actually very, very sad because he was definitely one of my good friends, and I feel like if that didn't have happened, we may have still been friends today, honestly. So our friendship sadly slowly started to fade away. Closer to the end of sophomore year, I really took my studies more serious and I made more friends, and it was like a bigger group. It wasn't just like me and a few people, it was a bigger group, and we were friends until probably junior year when everything once again changed. But I have no regrets of meeting them, of being their friends, and thank you to each and every single one of you guys. I know you guys would never really probably see this video, but if you guys ever do, then I just want to say thank you for the friendship that we did have, because all of you guys honestly carry sentimental with our friendship deep down within my heart. So thank you. So fast forward to junior year. This is where things started to fall apart. I really felt like they were coming together, but because I was in a relationship at that time, and it was a long distance relationship. I did experience the long distance relationship, but for the most part, if I had to give y'all advice, they never really work. It's rare, and you may find someone where you can do the long distance relationship. But if I had to recommend anything, don't go into college thinking that you're going to be with this person that you may have been with throughout high school and still be with them even after college. I ended up not hanging out with the friends, the little friend group that I had, and I kind of just like pushed them away. So I did it all to myself. No one did anything to me. It was all on me. It was my fault for pushing them away, but I did push them away, sadly, and we just stopped talking and we just stopped becoming friends. That's when I started not caring about classes. At this time, I had my own apartment and I was living with my ex at the time. We were living together with another roommate, and it was an off-campus apartment. I remember being so excited that I was getting an off-campus apartment. I was so excited for it, and I really thought that everything was going to go well. But because me and my ex had a lot of baggage and we had a lot of just anger built up between one another, and it just ended up being very, very abusive and toxic. It definitely should have been a dream, and outside looking in, it kind of seemed like a dream, but it was very, very, very toxic. We definitely fought a lot of verbally and physically when we were in that apartment together. However, even though all this was happening, I still was in love with this person, or what I felt love was. I would do anything for this person, but I was mentally, emotionally just drained from like school to the relationship, trying to balance everything out, and I felt like I was doing it alone. I definitely lost sight of why I was even going to school in the first place, and then eventually Rafford sent me a letter my junior year before second semester. So I had another year and a half before I got my degree. But see, the thing was, I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I switched my major 3 times, which at the age of 21, 19, 18, do you really even know what you really want to do? Probably not. But since I changed it so many times, I didn't really have like a secure career. And then sadly, right after winter time, in the winter, right after Christmas, everybody was gathering back to go back to school in January, but I had gotten a letter sent to the home address that I was living in, and it said that I was on academic suspension. This is when rock bottom hit. Like, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And then I ended up enrolling in a 2-year community college. I went to Dabney S. Lancaster. I believe it's called something else now, but it was You see, Radford had told me that if I ended up getting my academics up, I could reapply back in the fall, and then I can actually go back there. But I didn't want to do that. I felt like Radford all along wasn't my school. I don't want to talk bad about Radford. Radford's a great school, and it has some really, really memorable professors, teachers. So I do not, and it's a beautiful campus, and I don't want to say anything bad about Radford. It's just when you sign up for a school, for me, it kind of was like I got accepted. I was so excited. I didn't really care where it was, and that was my mistake. That's where I messed up, because right after high school, I felt like I was rushed into knowing where I wanted to go from the people I was living with, but it wasn't my school. My school, truth is, my school was actually VCU. I love VCU. I loved everything about VCU. And then as the years kept going and moving forward, I felt like I was just getting too old to even go back to school, which you are never too old to go back to school. I am 29 now. If I really wanted to, I could go right back to school and finish off whatever I needed to do. But I guess school's just not meant for me. You know what I mean? If you know, you know. So eventually I started focusing more on like healing and on my health. And I just started being me. I just started being who I was supposed to be. If I could tell anyone going to college, it would probably be this. First of all, do not pretend to be someone you're not. I know that if you are like me, I was pretending to be someone I wasn't. And this was kind of in high school, and then following into college, I wasn't being myself. And people will catch on to that quickly and fast. You definitely lose yourself more throughout the process if you do that. So I don't recommend that at all. See, I ended up going to college from being bullied throughout high school. I was bullied in high school, and when you go through that in high school, as well as the abuse that I endured, which I talk about that, but I don't want to get into that right now. But going through all that, it alters the adolescent's brain. And when that happens, once I hit college, and I'm an adult, considered an adult legally. Once you hit college, it's just like you just want to be someone you're not, because I was really trying to get away from who I was. I was trying to like just create like a whole different identity that I knew that it was going to be hard for me to come back from. So that's what I did, and I don't recommend that for anyone. Honestly, just be yourself. I feel like I just wanted to be loved. I wanted to feel seen. I wanted to feel cool in a way. I wanted to feel cool. Like, what was all the cool people doing? They were drinking and stuff. So I would drink that. I picked up my drinking heavily back when I was like 19 years old. That's when I started drinking heavily. So I was already going to college at that time, as well as, just meeting a whole bunch of different people from around the world, because there are a lot of people from around the world that goes there, or just any colleges, I guess, and just in general. And I would see what they would be doing, and I would kind of like follow in their footsteps, like be a follower. I was a huge follower. I will admit that. Wore a mask throughout my whole college experience. I didn't have a car. I wasn't allowed to bring the car that I was given. I did not have that car, so I was riding the transit. And the transit, it can be iffy, but like I said, all colleges are very different. So being surrounded by like thousands of people, I definitely still felt alone, and I felt like the whole experience itself was just miserable, to say the least. Like I said, I had some really great times, and I would never trade those times for anything, but just the overall experience, if someone asked how was your college experience, I would be like, it was very lonely, because it was. And it was no one else's fault. It was my fault. I take full responsibility for that, but obviously I can't take it back. I can only just move forward from here, right? So my final message is college is different. It's different for everyone. Your college experience may not be like my college experience, and my college experience may not be like the next person's college experience. You know, we all have different colleges experiences, but I'm grateful that I got to experience college. I know many people who has never went, and I know many people who has only just maybe went for like a semester, but I was in college for 3.5 years. No. Yeah, 3.5 years. Sorry. I got to experience college all the way up to junior year and half a junior year. So I got the majority of the experience, and then like I said, I did go to a 2-year community college to try to get my grades up to then reapply, but I never went through with that. I never wanted to do that. It wasn't my path. It wasn't my journey. If it works for you, it works for you, but it just didn't work for me, you know? Depending on your personality, if you're shy like I was, and like I still am in a way, I mean, I am an introverted. I feel like back then it was kind of like the both. Like I feel like one side of me was very introverted. I loved staying in my dorm room. I loved being on my laptop because I had a laptop at the time. But I also enjoyed going to like house parties. You know, it was fun. I was more of like the annoying one at a house party. But you know, that's another story for a different day. But if you're shy like I was, you have to push yourself, definitely push yourself into these different clubs and activities. Do something that you like to do. There's honestly something for everyone at a 4-year college. There is. And I just never really like dug deep to like find what that was for me, because like I said, I didn't really know who I was at that time. So one more thing I wanted to add, you guys, was, and this is actually important. Okay, so back in high school, I did not like sitting up front. I hated sitting up front. I wanted to sit in the back of the classroom because I never wanted to have my teachers call on me. But in college, if I had to give a piece of advice, sit up front. Especially depending, well, not even just depending, just sit up front. Whether you go to a big college with like hundreds of people in your classroom, or whether you go to a smaller college with like 20 people in your classroom, I recommend sitting up front. Because see, the professors, they're there to teach you, to you know, for you to learn. And professors aren't going to, first of all, they're not going to remember. They're there to teach you. They're not going to remember every single person sitting in their classroom, but the first maybe 3 rows, depending on how big your classroom is, those are going to be the students they are going to primarily focus more on. So if I had to give a piece of advice, sit up front. Do not sit in the back. I failed a lot of my classes, or a few of my classes. I didn't fail a lot of them, but I did fail a few of my classes because I was all the way in the back, and the professors, they never knew my name. They never knew to really call on me because they believe that those students just don't really care. They don't want to be there. They're ready to leave. And so yeah, sit up front. College does not have to break you. It does not have to break you. It didn't break me. It honestly just shaped me. And I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I'm still unlearning who I thought I had to be. So to anyone starting college, you don't have to have it figured out like at all. You're there for the experience. Definitely take it serious. And if you don't take it serious, depending on, you know, like your parents or whatever, if they're helping with, you know, with like providing financial stability for you to go to college, don't just put them on the back burner, because, you know, they are trying to help out and they want you to have like the whole college experience. And so if you want to, if you want to go to college and you're really going to be serious with it, definitely be serious with it. Have a little fun. Obviously, I'm not saying not to have fun, but when it comes to your academics, be smart about it and sit in the front of the classroom. I can't stress that enough. I cannot say that enough, honestly. Sit in the front of the classroom. I always thought that you can be in the back of the classroom and you would still be able to pass your classes, but no. You're more than likely going to not do the best as you would in the front. So sit in the front of the classroom. So if you made it to the end of this video, I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Definitely leave a comment. Let me know, like I said, your college experience. Let me know. Save this video. Save this video so then when you have your college experience, you can come back and you can share it with me. Like I said, I love hearing other people's experience because, you know, we all have an experience. And even those of us who didn't go to college, you know, we still have an experience of not going, you know. Like I know a few people who never got to experience it. And sometimes some of them, it was by choice, and then some of them wasn't. I'm grateful that I got to experience the college experience, even though, you know, the experience itself was iffy, but I got to experience it and I got to share it with you guys, and I would love for you guys to share it with me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I enjoyed sharing this with you guys, and until next time, peace. Bye.